Hey everyone, in this video, I want to show you exactly how to use Shotcut Video Editor, a completely free and open source video editor for Mac, PC, and Linux. And I've been editing professionally for 15 years using a variety of different softwares, and this one impressed me. Even though I don't have much experience with it, it really keeps up with the professional video editors and the paid version of those editors that I use. I do have other tutorials on other editors like DaVinci, Adobe Premiere, iMovie. So I'll put some resources in the description below this video so you could watch those too. But if you've never edited a video before, this is a really good software to get started with. I'll show you step by step how to use it. And if you plan on editing all the time, I recommend you pick up one of these external hard drives because video files are really big. So you don't want to use up your entire computer's hard drive space. So I usually edit on these. I have one connected right now. And I put all my footage, all my video files onto this, connected to my computer, edit right off of here. It doesn't take up any space on my computer that way and keeps things nice and organized. I have a link to this website in the description. Again, it's completely free, it's open source, and it works on multiple platforms like Mac and PC. Click here to download and it will recognize your device and you could go ahead and download it over here. So I've already gone and done that, and let me go ahead and open up a brand new install of Shotcut Video Editor here. And let's go step by step on what you need to do. Step one, the very first thing you need to do is you need to create a new project, and this panel should show up right in the middle. Just make sure you're on this editing tab here as well, and you should see this right in the middle here. Project folder, let me click this. So typically you want to choose a folder where everything is going to be saved. On a Mac here, it's just choosing the movies folder. But as I mentioned, you could pick an external hard drive like this one I have plugged in. I could just click this and save files that way. And that will create a new project for you as long as you create a project name. So I'll call this Shotcut Tutorial. And video mode, you could leave it on automatic if you don't know much about video modes. But basically, this is going to tell you the resolution of your video. So if you're a little more advanced and maybe you know your video was shot in 4K, for example, this is Ultra HD 4K. This stands for 4K, which is 3840 by 2160 resolution. Again, you don't need to worry about that if you're new, but 1080 basically is HD, 2160 is 4K, and 720 is 720p HD, a lower resolution HD. I'm going to leave it on automatic and let it decide based on the footage that I bring into it on the next step. Press start right here. Okay, now we have created our project. Step two, we want to import media. That means just bringing your footage, your music, your pictures, whatever you want to edit with, that has to be brought in, and this is the window for that. After we do that, I'll kind of show you exactly what you're looking at in this whole space. Now I have some drone footage here that I'm gonna bring in. So there's a bunch of drone shots that I captured. So I'm gonna grab all those clips here, and I have a music file too. I could just grab this whole folder and drag it over to this box, okay? So drag and drop over will import everything for you. See, they're importing right now. It takes a few seconds, then you should have all your clips over here with the description. So that's the easiest way really to import anything. It's just kind of opening up a different window with all your files and then drag and drop them right over here. Okay, for step three, we're not going to do anything just yet. I just want to kind of show you what you're looking at in this whole space. And I'll turn on my pointer here so you can see a little bit better. So here is all your media files. So these are MP4 video files. That music file was an MP3, I believe, or a WAV file, WAV file. So that's your music file. JPEGs would be your image files. They will all appear over here, and it will tell you the duration, the length of each of those clips. So 9 seconds, 49 seconds, 8 seconds. That's what you're looking at here, and the date it was created. Here is your preview window here, and this will show you the clips. So if I double click on a clip, it will show up over here and it will go ahead and play. At any time, I could go ahead and pause it and I could go ahead and double click on a different clip. Here's one of my favorites. I'll double click it and you could see it's playing. These are just some shots I took with a drone here in 4K resolution. Then here you have your recent activity. So whatever you've done here, your search bar and your history will appear on this side. On top, You see how there's 6 different panels here? We'll go through these panels as we go through, but on editing is pretty much where we're gonna spend most of our time, pretty much in every video editor, until we get to more advanced stuff here. On the bottom, every single video editor ever made has this thing down here called a timeline. Timeline is basically your entire edited project down here, and all your editing will take place here. And you have some tools over here for your timeline that we'll talk about. And up here, you do have a menu that's gonna come in handy, especially for opening and closing different panels. You could see if I press the meters here, this will appear for audio meters and a bunch of other things like your playlist, this is that. So these are gonna come in handy. Your timeline is down here. Now, step 4, let's go ahead and assemble our clips down here into our timeline. So we're gonna tell our story down here, and then we'll make fine edits in the next step. So step 4 is assembly. That's what you do after you bring in your footage, basically. So how do we assemble our timeline? Well, go through your clips, double click each one, and then let it appear over here. And let me pause this one. There is a really, really useful keyboard shortcut that everyone ever wanting to edit should learn. And it's I for in point, I on your keyboard, and then the out point wherever you want your clip to end. Sorry, I didn't mean to grab that. I'm gonna press play to get to where I want the clip to end. Let's say right here. I'll pause it, I'll press O. So I stands for in point, O stands for out point. So this is how I start assembling my project. I go through all the clips, double click, preview them in this window, choose an in point. That means just where the clip is going to start, an out point where my clip is going to end, and then add it to my timeline down here by just grabbing it and dragging it down here and letting go. And it's gonna create this timeline for me, okay? V1 stands for video track number 1, all I have right now. So let me just show you with another clip, because once you figure this out, you're already halfway through your editing. So let me see, let's say I'm gonna pause it here, put in point. Spacebar is useful to know because it will automatically play and pause things. So I usually use spacebar on my keyboard. Okay, I'll pause that on the out point, select that, and then I could go ahead and grab it and put it next to this other clip. Okay, so there's one clip, there's a second clip, and I will go through and double click everything and do the same exact thing with all my clips. Okay, let me go ahead and bring this all the way over here, out point, and put it right here. So now my edit is basically 3 different clips. Now, don't worry if you didn't select the in point and out point perfectly, because on the next step, we could actually make adjustments down here to our timeline and to our edited video. Also, make sure this magnet tool right here is called the snapping tool is turned on, because when you grab a clip, it snaps to the previous clip or the next clip. It's really easy, rather than if you don't have this turned on, it's really hard to get them to line up. It's not gonna snap and you might have a little gap there, okay? And another thing to know is undo and redo. So I'm gonna undo, but undo and redo are really useful because you will make mistakes and you'll have to undo them quickly, and you may wanna go backwards or forward too with redo. Okay, so after I go ahead and add all my clips, what I do next is I go to my timeline down here, and I'm gonna just grab this white line here. This is basically your preview window, what is showing you. So if it's in the beginning, it's gonna show you the very beginning of your project. And if I press spacebar now, it's gonna basically play my edited project. So it's gonna be clip 1, it's gonna cut to clip 2, and if I keep going a little bit more here, press spacebar, clip 3, okay? And I'll talk about transitions between clips too in a little bit. Okay, in this step, let's look at trimming or editing our video after we brought them down here to our edit and timeline. Okay, so let's say over here, I decided this clip is too long. I wanna start later, maybe I wanna start over here. So how do we do that? Well, you have a couple of ways, and this is the same with every video editor. You could grab the beginning of the clip here, and you get that bar, that green bar. You could grab that and bring it in. See that? It created basically an edit where now I start a little bit later. I basically cut this section out. But it will create a gap here, so this will just be black. when there's nothing here. You see this section is going to be black. So I will need to grab this and bring it back and make sure my snapping is turned on and let us snap to the previous clip. So now that edit has taken place, okay? So that's one way to do it. Basically just taking it, bringing it in and moving the clip. The other way is you could split a clip. So split at playhead. Playhead is this white line. So wherever this is, if you press this, it splits your clip into two clips. Now I have one clip here, one clip here. It was the same clip I brought down, but it just made them into two for me. So now, again, I could go ahead and grab the first part, press delete, and then bring this one back. Okay, so same thing as before, or I'll show you a keyboard shortcut that's really useful. Click this, and if you right click on it, you could choose X on your keyboard or just press remove, and look what this does. It just moves that for you, so you don't have to do two different steps. You don't have to press delete and then move in the next clip. This is called a ripple edit, basically, ripple delete. So this is really, really useful because most of the time, here I'll show you with this clip too. If I go on this clip, I split the clip, and if I just select this and press X, it does a ripple delete. It leaves no black areas behind, where the other version, the first version I showed you, leaves a blank or a black section, so you do have to move something over it or bring the clip back. So besides the snapping tool here and the split tool, I do also like this plus and minus. Minus will remove whatever clip is on right now, so it will just remove that clip that I was on. I'll go ahead and undo that. And if I come at the end here, or where I'm standing here, if I double click and choose another clip here, I'll just pause it right now. And if I press the plus sign, see, it puts the clip at the end of my edit, the whole clip here. I didn't put an in point and out point, so it's putting the whole clip right here at the end. So the plus sign will add clips from your preview here, and the minus sign here, let me press it, removes the clip that you're on. Very, very useful. So what about rearranging your edited project? What if this clip needed to start before this clip? How do I do that? This is one thing that professionals editor don't do, and this does, so be careful with this. If I grab this and dump it on top of the first clip here, it just erases that part of that clip, right? So it does start with the sunset clip now, but it completely messed up my edit. That's not what I wanted to do. So let me go ahead and press undo here. And what I want to do instead is I'm going to grab these two, or this clip here, bring it here, and then this clip I want it to be last, so I'll bring it here, and then I have this black area right here, and again, if I right click on a black area and remove it, it brings everything back. Okay, so if that's too confusing, let me just undo that. You can always grab, let me go ahead and grab this. I'll hold down shift to grab multiple clips and then just move them by myself here where I want, so right here. So the same thing I just did before, I prefer right clicking and choosing X or remove, but you can grab and drag and drop whatever you want over here. But just make sure when you go on top of another clip, sometimes you will do this, which is a transition here. So I'll talk about that in a second. Or sometimes you will just remove your clip like this. Okay, so be careful with how you move things around, but it is very, very possible to move things around. And you have a way to zoom in and out, so you could get a better preview and a better duration of your clip. So if you look up here, this is kind of why this is called the timeline, because it starts at 0, and this is about 10 seconds, and if I keep going, it's about 13 seconds long is my whole edit right here. And you can always add more tracks. So video track number 1, but if I right click, I can add a different track, like a video track number 2. This is gonna come in handy when we wanna add text, for example. On top of our video, we need 2 different video tracks, one for video, one for text. Okay, the next step is going to be adding music, because once we're done with our edit, before we do any transition and effects and things like that, we wanna just make sure our music is laid out. So I already imported music. Again, to import, remember, just drag and drop into this panel. Double click, your music will play over here. Let me go ahead and just pause it. And this is another thing that's kind of frustrating with this app, is if you grab this and bring it down here and let go, it actually overrides your video track. It is not supposed to do that. on other editors, it just creates an audio track instead. So let me go ahead and undo that. And instead, to bring in music, let me do another thing. Let me just go ahead and right click over here and I'll add a track for audio. So audio track, there we go. So this is called A1 for audio, V1 for video. Now, if I select my music again, I could go ahead and grab it and put it in the audio track this time in the beginning of it. There we go. So now we got music playing underneath. So you see music has these audio waveforms here. That's what these lines are, basically showing you the level of the audio. And let's say I need the edit to end here, but you see my audio keeps going. My music file is too long. Well, same thing as I showed you before, just split at playhead. So I'm at the end here. Now I have 2. I could select the second part, press delete. Now my music ends where I want. Let me just go ahead and mute this so I don't keep playing that. There you go. So I have music and I have video on top of that. You add any voiceover and things like that the same way, or if your video clip has audio with it, these did not have audio with it, they will just appear like this already. So you will have a video 1 and audio 1, but make sure you put your music in that case in audio track number 2. So make sure you create a new audio track, and audio 2 will be music. So you could even name it that if you want, music. And then audio 1 is gonna be what you're saying on camera. Now I need to show you one thing here that comes in really handy that's kind of confusing, and it should be a lot easier. But if you want to add music and you're talking, you need to bring the audio level of the music down. Otherwise it's gonna interfere with what you're saying. So to do that, it's a little bit complicated, but let me show you. All I have to do is, I have this selected, my audio here, and I need to click filters right here, this filter tab. This should open, and I need to add a filter with the plus sign. So filter, plus sign. And there's something over here called gain and volume. If I select this, this right now is at 0. And if I lower this to like 28 or 30, something like this, and I press play. See, now you could barely hear it. So let me bring it up a little bit. You could see it's much, much lower. So you could look at this audio level here. So I started here, you see I'm down here now. But if I was at 0, if I bring this up to even higher, I could increase volume this way too. You see it's up here now. Okay, so this is really, really useful, except in professional editors, there's just a line here. You just grab and bring up and down. Here you have to add a filter. We'll talk more about filters in a second. All right, let's go to transition and effects. I'm gonna mute this again. Transition and effects. Transitions are what happens between each clip. So if I wanna go from the first clip, if I press spacebar, it cuts to the next clip. So that's just called a cut when there's no transition in between. But what if I wanna do something in between these, like a fade or something like that? Well, what I could do between these two is I could add a transition. Now, one of the easiest ways just to add a transition here is you could just select this file or this video clip and drag it over a little bit on top of the other one like this, and it creates this kind of a transition. This is just a fade. So let me go here and press play to show you what it looks like. And let me go ahead and right click on this, and I'm gonna click properties here so it will show up over here. And this lets me actually change the type of transition. So it's set to dissolve. Dissolve transitions are very, very useful, and you could change the duration. Cut was the one it was on before, and you have a ton of other ones. But don't get carried away on transitions, keep it simple. So dissolve here, let's say I wanna just go ahead and increase the softness of it. I could go ahead and adjust this, for example. Go ahead and press play on it now. And I could extend it out a little bit too. You could see, if I just grab it, I could make it a little bit longer. So that's a lot better. So that's a transition. And again, I usually just keep with dissolve. A lot of these like barn door here. Let me just show you. For most cases, they're not going to be very useful. Oh, actually, that was pretty nice. Yeah, they're pretty nice. So play around with transitions, and they could go between any clip. Just make sure, again, because I moved that, I created a black area right here. So make sure I snap this back and shorten my music here too to fit, okay? Now, filters. Let's talk about filters. Let me select this clip, and I'm gonna go to filters here and press plus to add a filter this time. And filters, you have video and audio filter. I showed you audio, for example, for changing volume, but you do have a ton of other more advanced filters, and you could Google any one of these to see what it does. For the most part, I don't do much besides maybe fade in audio and fade out audio over here. And that's really, really useful for ending your music track, for example. But for video, there's a bunch of them available to you. So I'll just show you saturation right now. And you can see I could boost the saturation of a clip. You see how it's making it black and white. If I go this way or if I go to the right, it's really giving us some color. So ton of different video filters available. Again, press the plus sign and you could add any of these that you like. Video effects, video transitions. What's next? Next, let me show you color correction. Now this is a little more advanced, but if you look over here, there's a color panel that brings up this entire color correction with more advanced tools like RGB Parade and video vectors. And I'm very knowledgeable of these with advanced video editors, but it's really not something you should really worry about if you're new to video editing. I will worry about this much later. I didn't use these for the next couple of years of editing really and didn't even know what they were. But they are tools for color correction. Now with color correction too, you could do the same thing you did before. You could just go ahead and apply a video filter, and there's a bunch of them for color. So if I go down, for example, contrast will change the contrast, which will affect your color in some ways. And let me see, there is one. Let me search for color here. There we go, color grading. Let me go ahead and double click that. And here is, if I resize this, your color wheels. And basically what these do is they change how your video looks if you move this around. So this is all the different colors. If you want to make it green, you go this way. If you want to make it blue, you go this way. But definitely something subtle is what's needed here, and not major shifts like this unless you're making some kind of a special music video. Same thing with your shadows. You could move those colors around, and there's some more options available here with these sliders too. So let me just show you. If I want to bring the highlights down or up, I could go ahead and change that if my clip was too bright or too dark. And as you can see, these things are moving around. So if you want to learn more about them, go ahead and Google them. This is more advanced training that I cover in my more advanced editing tutorials, but these are available for you. As you can see, as I make changes to them, they do move around. All right, I went back to the editing window. Let me show you how to add text, because that does come in handy as well. Again, it's a filter, so make sure you click on filters here and go to the filter tab, press plus, and let's change or search for text. I'll do rich text here, and here's my text box, okay, that appeared. And let me go ahead and type out my text. Let me see if I could type it over here. It's really, really small. You can't really see it. Let me go ahead and change the size. 600. There we go, or 800, because I'm working with 8K video or 4K video here. And there's my text. I could select it all, make it bold, italic, underline, and I have some font options from my system here. And let me go ahead and center the text right here. And there you go, there's my text. If I want to move it around, I could go ahead and grab it from here and like put it over here. So I'll actually change this to Florida. That's how you add text, and it will appear on top of your video as a filter. Now that's a little bit limited, and I'm not a big fan of how you add text here, but it is available to you. And another thing I should note, redo and undo don't work for text. They will just do the redo and undo to your edit if you press them up here. So let me go ahead and delete that text file, and let's go to the final step, which is exporting your edited video. That step is right here, export. Press this. Your timeline here is what is selected. It says from timeline. So that's what I want to choose. And it's going to actually give you all these different options for type of exports. Now, again, if you don't know anything about what these file formats are, if you're going to YouTube, or really for any video purposes, YouTube is not bad. H.264 compression, AAC audio compression, and MP4. Those three things are what this is choosing for you. So again, I've been doing this for a long time, so I know very well what all of these are, but for the most part, I choose YouTube here, or I choose H.264 here, like this one, for example. But I'll choose YouTube here and go ahead and press export file. You could actually configure some more advanced options over here too. Well, I'll press export file. It's gonna ask me where I wanna put it. Let me just go ahead and put it in the movies folder that I designated in the beginning. I'll press save, and you can see over here is showing you how fast it's exporting. Again, this is 13 seconds, so it should go really, really fast. And here, the export is done over here in my movies folder. I'm gonna press spacebar. And there it is. There's my 3 clips edited together and exported, and I could upload it to wherever I want from here. So there were a few things that I had a really hard time with as a professional editor, just because I'm used to a different workflow. But if you're just starting out, I think you're gonna be really pleasantly surprised with what you could do here. The few things, the way you worked with audio and music was a little bit not as simple as it should be, and the way the texts were a little bit limited. I think that could be improved as well, but I think they update this all the time, so hopefully those do improve over time as well. And that's Shotcut Video Editor Simple Tutorial. Again, make sure you check out some of the resources I mentioned in the description, like other tutorials and other video editors. I do try to make video editing as simple as possible, and I have a ton of tutorials on it on this channel and Howfinity.com. Thanks again for watching. Please give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you next time.